So hello guys, how are you all? I hope you all are doing good. So as you seen in the thumbnail, today we are going to see part 2 of what if Naruto had multiple split personality. Watch this video till the end, also like, share, subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the video. The next morning Naruto awoke and found he was on the floor in Shikamaru's bedroom on a pallet, and Choji was near him on the floor, and he looked around and started to move his feet, and Shikamaru said, "Morning Naruto," still with his eyes closed. Naruto groaned and asked, "How did you know I was up?" Shikamaru sighed and sat up and pointed to Naruto's little toe where a piece of string was tied around it that ran to Shikamaru's finger. Naruto said, "Troublesome, troublesome, troublesome, Shikamaru." Choji said, "Troublesome Naruto. You sure are troublesome this morning." Shikamaru said, "I see you understand what that word means now, huh?" Naruto said, "Yeah, instead of cussing you use that word as a substitute." Shikamaru nods, and Naruto asked in a quiet voice, "What now?" Shikamaru said, "Now we get up and you put on those cloths and we go eat breakfast. Then our dad is going to take you out to the herd and teach you a little about our family and then test you somehow. Choji and I have to go meet our team." Naruto said, "Troublesome, I'm late, and Kakashi-sensei." Choji covered his mouth and said, "Is no longer your sensei, Naruto. Our dads told us last night you were reassigned to our dads because they are going to train you to be a CIA specialist." Naruto, after Choji moved his hand, asked, "What's a CIA specialist?" Shikaku, who was standing in the door, said, "Capture, interrogation, and assassination specialist. Konoha hasn't had one in nearly 30 years. Naruto looked at him and said, "But why me? I mean, why are you and the others doing this for me? I want the truth, please," saying the last part quietly. Both Shikamaru and Choji frowned a little as they glanced at each other, and Shikaku said, "Because Naruto, with the skills you already have, that would be the best for you. I mean, you are able to paint the Hokage Mountain in broad daylight without being caught, break into 2 of the highest security building undetected, both of which show you are a stealth master in the making. Your stamina is low, Jounin, already, because I know from my own experience chasing you a few times when you were younger under Hokage-sama orders. Then there's the fact how exactly you are able to figure out ways to get into secure places bypassing security. That shows you are very intelligent when you want to be, even with the damage done to your education. Those are skills that will help you in capturing with traps and deceptions. The intelligence part, you have a tool that you can use beyond anyone's belief in the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, where you can search a large amount of area in a short amount of time, because a little no fact about them is whatever they learn when dispelled the original learns. That will help in general information gathering, and with the help of 2 friends who specialize in torture and interrogation, they can teach you how to get information out of enemies. Then there is the assassination part. You may not know this, but the Nara clan are also known as assassins because of what we can do with our shadows, and that is just a few of the things we are known for. The Oths will help you as well in that area." Naruto frowned and looked down and asked, "Then what will people think of me?" Shikaku asked, "Does it really matter to you that much what people think of you, Naruto, or what your friends think of you, Naruto?" Naruto closed his eyes and said, "I have no friends, remember." Choji snorts and said, "Damn, are you dense, Naruto?" Naruto flinched at the cuss word and his eyes darted back and forward, and Shikaku said, "It's 7 a.m. Naruto, and my wife's gone to the hospital lab until 2 helping make medicines." Naruto said, "Thank God, I don't know how much longer I could keep that act up," as he looked for his shoes. Shikamaru said, "I agree, Naruto, she's very troublesome, but you're wrong about not having friends. I admit that Choji and I weren't there for you when we were in the academy much, but we both think of you as friends, Naruto. You have always treated Choji nice about his weight when every other kid has picked on him at one time or another, and you and me always had fun because I thought that you were hiding how smart you were in the academy like I was, because when you came up with those pranks that were so much fun to do, they were brilliant. That's why the day you started wearing that orange jumpsuit and acted like a happy-go-lucky idiot, I thought you were trying to get people to underestimate you, so I decided to do the same thing and acted like I was sleeping through class also. I had fooled myself, or I wouldn't have only occasionally talked to you after that, because I thought it was all an act, and that was the time that my dad started to teach me more of our clan techniques as well as care for our herd and Choji's as well with his family restaurant, so our after-school time was gone then, or we would have hung out after school. I'm sorry you think I wasn't your friend, but I still consider you one, and so does Choji, and we want to prove it to you. Naruto looked out the window and said, I don't know what to think, guys. Choji said, then how about let's have a fresh start, the three of us. We can earn your trust and friendship, and we get to know the real you. Naruto turned and looked at both of them and said after several minutes, all right. I will try, since both of you have never hurt me outright before, but what about, as he stopped and bit his lip. Choji said, she's going to have to earn your respect on her own, Naruto, as well as your forgiveness. I am shocked and hurt by her. Almost as shocked as I was when we saw you had actually beat Sasuke that day. Naruto eyes widened and said, you saw that? Shikamaru chuckled and said, yeah, we were on the roof across the way and saw that along with Ino. We also saw when you nearly tricked Sakura into that kiss. That's what I think she went to your apartment that day in the first place for, was because she came up with some kind of stupid plan. Naruto sighed and said, all right, I don't want to talk about her or that anymore right now, guys. You said we need to get breakfast, and I am still hungry, as he rubbed his stomach. Shikaku, who was standing in the door, said, that's understandable, Naruto. Your body ate most of the fat reserves it had built up during that time, so you really don't have much in the area of food energy in your body. However, you can't have ramen all the time, Naruto. You're going to have to cut it down to once a day because you need to eat a more balanced diet to get stronger, and also to make sure you don't accidentally die from shock of eating, which happens occasionally when people go through what you just did. I will meet you boys at the table, as Yoshino has already prepared the food, so hurry up, as he turned and left. Shikamaru got up and got some cloths out of his dresser and said, be right back, as he went to change. Choji got up and grabbed his cloths from another drawer, and Naruto raised an eyebrow, and Choji said, Shika and I hang out at each other's places so much it's just easier to keep half our cloths at the other's place for later use, as Shikamaru came back and dressed normal and Choji left. Shikamaru grabbed the cloths for Naruto his mother got him and said, these will do for right now. I think Dad and the others are planning on getting you some new cloths later today. Naruto looked away and asked, do you think I am the Kyuubi, Shikamaru? Shikamaru walked over to his dresser and got a scroll, and Naruto watched as a book popped out of the scroll, and he said, this scroll is you, Naruto, this book is Kyuubi, and he resealed it and said, you may have it in you, but it's not you. Naruto smiled a small smile, and Shikamaru said, you know, I think that's the first real smile I seen from you in nearly 5 years. Naruto's smile slipped and said, Shikamaru said, don't worry about it. Hey, Race Choji, better go get dressed or you will miss breakfast. Friends are friends, but good food is something that comes first to Choji and their family. Choji said, hey, jerk, earning a snicker from Shikamaru and a laugh from Naruto, who quickly got up, and when he came back a few minutes later he had on a pair of black pants, a fishnet stocking with a brown shirt underneath it, and his weapon holsters on each pant leg. All three boys came down the stairs and went to the dining table, and Shikaku said, though my wife's not here, still eat with manners, Naruto, so in case she shows up she won't go medieval on you. Naruto said, you know, I think if her and Kyuubi ever got in a fight in the bathroom she would win and send him packing, making everyone laugh. Shikaku said, yeah, she is like a beast sometimes. Shikamaru said, sometimes. Shikaku snickered and said, all right, most of the time, but I love her. They all three ate quickly some steamed rice and biscuits with a few small deer bacon. After they finished, Choji said, well, we got to go, Naruto, to meet our sensei. We will see you later, okay? Naruto said, all right. Both boys then left, and Naruto asked, where am I to stay at? Shikaku said, let's worry about that later, we got work to do if we want to train. Follow me, as he led Naruto outside, and then they went inside a gate and walked toward a set of woods, and Shikaku said, all right, Naruto, I don't know a lot about your actual skill levels, so I have a task you can help me with while I judge your skills. I want you to create as many cage buncheons as you can and have them form a straight line every 5 feet apart, and I want them to pick up 2 sticks and walk along the edge of the fence around this field, and then when they're in position I want them to march forward while hitting the sticks together until they make it back into this field. The noise should make all my family deers to come out of the woods. While that is happening, the original you and me will then move one at a time into a holding pin where I can check them. Naruto asked, how will this help judge my skills? Shikaku said, by showing me how many you can make, how well you follow orders of a superior, how much chakra you waste in making jutsu, and also to test your stamina and how fast you learn, because before we finish this I am expecting you will be able to check the deers yourself, or at least check most of the things yourself, so are you ready? Naruto nods and Shikaku said begin when you're ready. Naruto said oh. Sorry sir. Shikaku said just call me sensei for now. Naruto said yes sensei, as he put his hands together and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and 30 appeared. Shikaku frowned and said I was told you could make way more than this Naruto. Did I hear wrong? Naruto said no, I could make more if I have to. Why? Shikaku said do it again, but this time make as many as you can. Naruto said okay, as he put his hands together and he gathered his chakra and said Tajua Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and the clearing was instantly filled with Naruto's, making Shikaku wide-eyed, and he quickly got a rough count and thought 400, not bad kid, and said good, now do as I ordered. And the Kage Bunshin started to grab sticks and run around the edge of the fence, but a few got into a fight and dispelled themselves or tripped, so it took about 20 minutes to do as ordered, and Naruto and Shikaku waited as they heard sticks hitting in the woods. Naruto saw as a deer came out and soon several others and more, and he asked hey, how come some have things on their heads and others don't? Shikaku said those things are called antlers Naruto, and those are men while the ones who don't are women. Naruto said oh. I see. While this was happening, Choji asked Shikamaru what should we do about Ino? Shikamaru said let's act like we don't know anything, including where Naruto is. She still thinks he left, and until he recovers a little I am not letting her get near him. Choji said I know. Did you see the pain he's in? Shikamaru said see it, I can still feel it. Ino has successfully killed the sun. I don't know if it will ever rise again, as they continued on in silence. As time passed, Naruto said hey damn it, one just killed one of my Kage Bunshin. Shikaku said yeah, we always have a buck or two that decide to fight instead of going with the herd. Don't worry about him for now. Naruto nods, and soon most of the deer and Naruto Kage Bunshin were in the field. Naruto asked what now sensei? Shikaku said alright, that was real good Naruto. Now you see that big square fence we have over there? That is the larger holding pin. What I want you to do is help separate the males from females and move the males into the holding pin. It might be easier to just move the females to that circle pin first, but this is a test for you as I will wait until you can do this. Naruto nods and asked what if they attack again? Shikaku said the males most likely will if you try to separate them right now. Naruto said then I guess I will start with the females, as he walked over and opened the gate to the circled fence, and he looked at the females and then back at the fence and then the herd, and he thought the females are mixed into the group, and if I want to get them I might take a chance of having the males attack and even the females might attack, and asked hey sensei, if the deer can't see do they get scared or are they easy to move? Shikaku blinked and said I don't know, why? Naruto took off his belt and also took off his fishnet and shirt, and he walked over toward the herd and saw a female close to the edge of the group, and he threw his shirt over her head and she jumped back before it hit and his shirt fell to the ground. Naruto said damn it, I thought that would work. Shikaku thought impressive Naruto, but that won't work because even domesticated deer are skittish to things they can see and hear. Naruto picked up his shirt and slipped it back on, and he slipped his belt back on, and he motioned for 5 Kage Bunshin to come over, and he said alright, here's what we're going to do. I want you all to tell the others I want them to start hitting the sticks and lead them all toward the square pin while I open the gates. Once we get them in that gate it will be easier to divide the females without having the whole herd head back into the woods. The Kage Bunshin said yes, as they took off and told, and when Naruto opened the gates the Kage Bunshin circled the herd and started hitting the sticks again, and the deer started to run into the square pin. Shikaku said well you're half done, but what about the other half? Naruto said I got an plan, as he said alright guys. I want half of you to get all around the square pin and start hitting the sticks to scare them a little but not too bad. Shikaku frowned and thought this might turn out bad. And Naruto said now the other half I want to prepare the gate that runs between both pens, and when a female gets near the opening all of you on that side stop hitting and open the gate, but if a male starts going toward that side start hitting again. Shikaku crossed his arms and thought impressive but wasteful as he watched as Naruto plan did work, and after a few close calls of getting a male and the female pen he was able to separate them. Shikaku said, "Well done Naruto for your first try, but it took you an hour to do so when you need to get it down to half the time, so dispel the clones, and then we can prepare the next part." Naruto dispelled them and Shikaku thought I expected that to knock him out or at least give him a headache, but he seems fine. Naruto asked, "What now, sensei?" Shikaku said, "Now Naruto, what we are going to do is cull the females and check their health and see if any are in heat." Naruto asked, "What's heat?" Shikaku said, "It's a time when the females can get pregnant." A female voice that both knew said, "It's also the time when the males get overexcited," as they looked and saw Yoshino walking up. Shikaku said, "You're home early, dear." Yoshino said, "It was an easy day so they told me to go on home." "So how's he doing?" Naruto said, "I am doing okay mother, but I took too long on separating the deer." Yoshino saw her husband nod and she said, "Well anyway, let's get to this," as she jumped over a fence and used a rope to lasso one of the female and pulled the deer toward a small square holding pin. Naruto watched and said, "Hey, how come you didn't tell me about that rope, sensei?" Shikaku said, "You need to be more mindful of your surroundings, Naruto. You got to realize Shikamaru, Yoshino and I all do this together every week and we don't use bunshins like you did. You're going to have to learn to do that as well." Naruto nods as he watched and Yoshino said, "This one's clean," as she released the deer and it ran back into the woods. He watched as she got another female and pulled it into the pen and said, "This one's got a small cut but nothing bad," as she opened another section of fence and the deer ran into another holding pin. She went on for about 20 females when she said, "We got a winner." Naruto asked, "How can you tell if a deer's in heat?" Shikaku said, "You will learn that later in some books I am going to loan you to read," as they watched as she pulled that deer into a separate pen away from the other deer. This went on for another 30 deer and 5 more were put in the heat pin and 2 more in the injured pin, with the rest being released. After that was done, Shikaku said, "Okay Naruto, now it's our turn. Remember how you did to get the females and males separate. Do it again, but only let 5 males in the gates between the square and circle pin at a time. We will then walk along both sides and look for any wounds or any signs of sickness." "Okay." Naruto nodded and this time he went to the gate and Shikaku got on the back side of the fence away from him and started to hit 2 sticks and the buck started to move, and after 5 got in, both looked at them and then released them into the circle pin. They did this for over 60 deer with only 3 going into a male sick pin. Naruto asked, "What now?" Yoshino said, "Now we do this," as she opened the heat pin and the females ran back into the circle pin. Naruto blinked and asked, "What did you do that for?" Yoshino said, "You see Naruto, those does are an early heat. It takes a few days for full heat to hit, and if we let it happen then the males will fight each other and either injure each other or die, so since we need them all alive, what we do is when they are early in heat we release them into a pin with the males and let them mate." Naruto scrunched his nose and said, "I don't like this. It feels wrong." Shikaku said, "Because it is wrong. What we are basically doing is having the females mated until they get pregnant." Naruto said, "But why? I mean, isn't that the same thing as rape?" Yoshino said, "In a way, yes." Naruto said, "It's wrong though." Shikaku said, "But they want to mate Naruto with the strongest males, when the females are in heat, they're like fangirls in a way. They want to be mated by whoever they think is the strongest, so that is why the males usually fight to show their strength, but by us doing it like this then the females pick who they believe is strong at the moment." Naruto said, "But if what you're saying is true then you're saying that Sakura-chan and Ino should be," as Shikaku put his hand over Naruto's mouth. Yoshino glared at her husband and said, "All right Naruto, let me try to explain it a better way than my idiot husband. Let's use people since you don't understand deer that well. You said Sakura and Ino for fangirls, which I agree with. Now they both believe that Sasuke is the strongest, so they want to be with him. Now Sasuke is not actually the strongest, but they think he is because nobody has fought him and proved they are stronger, so if Sasuke wanted to he could mate with one of those girls, but if he doesn't he runs away like those few in the corner of the pin are. As they leave the females alone the number of males who would mate with them gets smaller and smaller, so they have to guess who would be strongest next and so on and so forth, meaning next would be maybe Kiba, and then maybe Choji or Shino and then Shikamaru and you. The females will eventually find a male that wants them and then they will mate and until they are out of heat or until they are pregnant. Now after one of those two things happen the females will remember who chose them until their next heat, at which time it starts all over again next month and none of the males actually had to fight to prove who was best. Naruto said, I still don't like it but I understand it a little better. Shikaku said, at least human females aren't like deer and have heats. Naruto said, actually they do. Yoshino said, no they don't, not like deer. Naruto said, yes they do. I read about it in a book from Gigi Office once. It's called Oven Later or something like that, making Shikaku back up and Yoshino open and close her mouth a few times and asked what book was that, Naruto, in a sweet voice. Naruto said, it's the one with the pink cover and the girl in a towel. Why? As he looked at her. Yoshino looked at her husband and said, you are to give him the talk while I go see the Hokage. Do I make myself clear? Shikaku nods and Yoshino leaves. After she was gone Shikaku said, well I think that's enough for today here Naruto. The injured will rest until their wounds heal and in a day or two we will release all the others back in the woods. Let's go, as he lead Naruto away. At Training Ground 7 Kakashi arrived and Sakura said, you're late and that Baka Naruto hasn't showed up either sensei. Kakashi said, that's because Naruto is no longer a member of Team 7. Sakura said, finally, that Baka should not even be a ninja and now it's just you and me Sasuke-kun, as she wrapped her arms around him. Sasuke grunted and asked what happened to the dope, as he broke free. Chusa walked up and said he was reassigned because his skills are better suited for a more specialized training. How's it going Kakashi? Kakashi said, fine Chusa, but what are you doing here? Chusa said, I just came by to find out if there's anything special you think we should know about Naruto. Kakashi asked, what's his specialty going to be if I may ask? Chusa said, CIA. Kakashi got wide and said, interesting. It's been what, 30 years since the last CIA ninja we had? Chusa said, yeah, the Nidaime Hokage to be exact. So anything we should know? Kakashi closed his book and said, stealth is ANBU level already, chakra level is Kage level, but his control is Academy. He has no true taijutsu to speak of and I have talked to Guy and the only one he could think of that would fit Naruto he doesn't know and I don't know enough to teach it. Speed is high Chunin if he goes all out but most of the time he is actually mid-gen nin, stamina is Jounin level, trap making is ANBU as well, his pain resistance is Jounin level or better. He's also got senses as good as an Inuzuku. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows my previous post. Chusa said, about what we came up with also. Kakashi said, are you aware of his apprenticeship? Chusa said, yes, we are aware of all that. Kakashi asked, who's going to teach the other skills? The Hokage told me your trio was teaching him the art, but what about the other half? Chusa said, the dueling sadist. Kakashi chuckled and said, if they don't kill each other he should make a good one. Currently there is very little I can teach him besides experience and teamwork since most of my arsenal is either too specialized or have too high of chakra control required and I don't have the time to get it under control myself. Chusa said, don't worry about it. We will make sure he knows the truth. Well, take care, as he turned and left. Sakura and Sasuke were looking at Kakashi and Sakura said, you lied to him sensei. Naruto's skills aren't that good. Kakashi looked at her and said, actually Sakura, if Naruto didn't hide his real skills and had just a little better chakra control he could have been the rookie of the year the past 3 years. It's chakra control that held him back all 3 years. If his stealth skills were not ANBU level then how did he paint the Hokage monument in broad daylight without being caught until he threw an exploding tag off the mountain to draw attention? If his speed and stamina were not as high as they are how did he keep from being caught for 3 hours by 2 squads of ANBU, and 12 Chunin? I hate to tell you this Sakura but remember the ninja rule, deception is a ninja best ally and Naruto has deceived you and the rest of the academy for years. Sasuke gritted his teeth and asked what does CIA stand for? Kakashi pulled out his book and said capture, interrogation/information, and assassination depending on the situation. Now let's go to the academy and meet our new teammate. Sasuke said, why does the doe get picked for that and not me? Kakashi said, because you are not suited for that. You an assault type ninja and Sakura is a medical or genjutsu specialist type. Now let's go. Both genin deflated at this and followed Kakashi. Earlier at Team 10 training ground, Ino walked onto the field slowly with her face down, and Asuma looked at her as Shikamaru slept under a tree and Choji ate. Asuma said, you're late, Ino. Ino looked up and had a bruise on her cheek and red tired-looking eyes and said, sorry sensei. Asuma got up and walked to her and asked what happened. Ino said, a wake-up call. I did something that hurt someone I know really bad. Asuma said, I see. Is this about Naruto? At Naruto name, Ino flinched and Shikamaru sat up and asked, what about Naruto? Asuma looked at the boys and said, I thought your dads would have told you about it. Ino looked down and Shikamaru asked, about what? We had an old friend staying at my place last night, and when Dad and them got back they didn't want to talk about their mission. Was it something to do with Naruto? Ino said, it's my fault. I did something to him that hurt him really bad and, as she burst into tears again. Asuma sighed and said, it's okay, Ino, did Naruto hit you? And Ino shook her head no, and Choji asked, what did you do, Ino? Asuma said, drop it boys, and if you want to know ask your parents. Ino said in a crying voice, it doesn't matter anyways. He's gone now. He left the village, making Asuma eyes widen, and he asked, what do you mean, Ino? Ino hiccuped and said he left last night. He said he was going to see the Hokage and resign as a ninja and leave the village, and it's all my fault, as she started crying again. Choji asked, it might help if you talk about it. Asuma said, drop it boys, and Ino, why don't you go on home while I go see the Hokage, practice is cancelled for today, as he left in a swirl of leaves. Ino started to walk away and Choji said, hey Ino, are you planning to come by my house today? Ino said, no, why? Choji said, good, I didn't want to go hide my valuables. CYA, as he turned and Ino's eyes got wide realizing he knew as she took off running away crying. Shikamaru said, that was cold, Choji. Choji said, she deserves it though. At least for now. I want her to know she can't sweep this under the rug and act like it never happened. Shikamaru sighs and nods as they begin to walk away. In the Hokage office, Yoshino had just walked in when Asuma shushined in and asked, did Naruto really leave? Yoshino said no, why, making Asuma look at her. Asuma blinked and said, but Ino said he left last night. Yoshino said he would have had Choji and Shikamaru not kidnap him and brought him to our place. In fact, I just left him and my husband to come see the Hokage. Asuma sighed and said, then why did they not mention on it before and leave Ino? I see, as he realized why they did it. Yoshino said they must be trying to protect him from her for now. Asuma said, sorry to interrupt, bye. The third chuckled and said, if only all my meetings could be handled as such. So what can I do for you, Mrs. Nara? Yoshino smiled a sweet smile and asked in a sickening sweet voice, what were you thinking letting Naruto read that book, as she pointed to his itchy paradise book hidden under a stack of paperwork. The third paled and Mount St. Yoshino blew again as she gave him a verbal tongue lashing that lasted an hour. When Naruto and Shikaku all got back to the house, Chusa and Inoichi had already arrived and Shikaku said it's time to go to Red's, as he grabbed Naruto's shoulder and all four shushined away. When they reappeared they were inside a private club and a man in a business suit said he's not allowed in here, pointing toward Naruto. Shikaku said he's here with us and if our apprentice is not allowed in here we will take all of our business elsewhere. Davin glared and said fine, but I am not responsible for him or his health, as he turned and walked back to the bar. Inoichi said, so what's the occasion? Shikaku said, Yoshino told me to give him the talk. All three men snorts and Inoichi pulled out a 20 and handed it to Naruto and said, take that and go try your hand at one of the games or get you a drink, but that has to last you until we leave. Naruto said, but I'm too young to drink and gamble, making a few people around the room snicker, and Chusa said, the moment you put that headband on, Naruto, you're an adult. Now try and enjoy yourself and don't worry, we got your back. Naruto nods and looks around the room, and after several minutes he walks toward a table that had 6 people sitting beside it and a man had a cup in his hand and he said, place your bets, Cho or Han. Naruto asked, what do you mean? The man said, odds or even, kid. If the total of the dice comes out odd and you bet even, you lose. If you bet odd, you win. It's a 50/50th chance, as he talked with contempt in his voice. Naruto shrugged and placed the 20 on the table and said cho, and the man waited until everyone placed their bets and he moved the cup and said cho it, as he paid the winners and grabbed the cash of the loser. Naruto got 40 and he placed it again down on the table, and after the man sat the cup down said Han, and after all bets it came out Han. The dealer said beginner's luck, as they went again and again. After 40 games the dealer said, that's it, kid, you have to be cheating somehow because nobody's that lucky. Naruto said, but most of the time I called it before you ever rolled the dice, and with all these other players here who have more experience than me, how can I cheat and not be caught? Davin said, let it go, Rice, I have been watching and the kid's just lucky right now. Why don't you take your winnings and try a different game, kid? Naruto got the 750 he won already and walked away from the table and looked around, and Davin said, if you're this lucky, why don't you try your hand at poker at that table over there, pointing to a table where only 3 people were sitting. Naruto shrugged and walked over and asked, so how do we play this? The dealer pointed toward a picture of sets of hands under a glass top and he said, the higher hand wins basically. Naruto sat down in front of the picture and said, alright, how much do I bet? A man in a black cloak said, just bet your max and we will all match it since you're new here. Naruto said, alright. At the bar Inoichi asked, so should we stop him or? Chusa said, nah, he needs to see how a card shark operates cause he may have to hit a club or 2 as he gets older for info. The dealer passed out the 2 cards to each and he flipped 3 over and he said, okay, anyone like to fold? Naruto looked confused and the dealer said, it means quit, kid. Naruto said, no, that's okay, I got 4 a straight flush C, as he flipped his cards over and everyone else at the table threw their cards, muttering about lucky idiots and damn demons. After Naruto got all his money and Naruto said, I guess I will go all in again. The dealer said, that will be 3,000 to call. 2 of the men got up and said, I need a drink. Come on dude, as he grabbed his partner. That just left the man in the cloak, the dealer and Naruto. The cloak man said, the name's Ryan and I will call, as he laid out 3,000. The dealer passed out the cards again and Naruto said as he looked at his 2 cards and he said, I got 4 aces, as he flipped over 2 aces to match the ones in the pot. Ryan gritted his teeth and shot the dealer a look and the dealer nodded slowly as Naruto took his money, and as the dealer started to shuffle Naruto said, hey, you missed 2, making everyone look at their table. The dealer said, excuse me. Naruto said, Ryan, you forgot to hand him back your cards. See, I can see them under your watch band. Ryan gritted his teeth and Davin came over and pulled the sleeve back and said, so, trying to cheat, huh Ryan? Thanks kid. This guy's taken a few of my friends to the cleaners lately. Naruto said, sure I guess. If the dealer wouldn't have moved his head toward the cards when I was getting my money, I would have never have seen them. Davin eyed the dealer who said, he's lying boss. Davin glared and said, Rose, and a mirror door opened up and a female voice said, yeah boss. Davin said, bring the tape for this table now and put it on the screen, never taking his eyes off the dealer or letting Ryan go. Naruto shrugged and a brown-haired girl in her late teens came out with brown eyes and a black cocktail dress and she had a tape in her hand and she put it in a VCR under the TV and she asked, what you need to see boss? Davin said, the kid here said. The dealer nods toward Ryan here when the kid was getting his money. The girl said right, as she hits play and rewinds it and she then hits play and said, he's right boss look. Davin looks as she rewound it and played it and he said, thanks kid, looks like you found a dirty dealer in my club. Let's take you boys to the ANBU, as he pushed a button on the wall and dragged the men to the door. A few minutes later he returned rubbing his hands together to get the dirt off and he walked over and said, look kid, I think I got off on the wrong foot, the name's Davin and I own this place. The trio over there said, you're their apprentice huh? Naruto said, yeah, the name's Naruto Uzumaki. Davin said, yeah, kid, everyone knows you, but look, since you not only helped take a shark out for me but also gave me proof of a dirty dealer, you can come here whenever you want. You got my respect kid. Naruto smiled a little and said, thanks Davin. Davin said, no problem. Look, you don't seem to be that interested in this stuff, are you? Naruto said, not really. In fact, only reason I am here is because Shikaku-sensei was told to give me some kind of talk that Yoshino told him to give me. Shikaku slammed his head on the table as several people snickered, and Davin said, yeah. I see. Tell you what, kid, how about you go on into the back room with Rose and she can help give you the talk along with help you if you need it. Give the kid the works, Rose, because I want him to come back over and over again. When word spreads about his luck, people are going to want to see if the rumors are true, and I want a chance to win some of that money back. Okay. Naruto said, hey, if you're not going to throw me out like most places, I will come back whenever my sensei will let me. Davin said, that's good, kid, now go on back and have fun, as Rose walked over and put her hand on his shoulder and lead him to the back. After the door closed, Inoichi burst out laughing and said, you do know that Yoshino going to kill you, right? I mean, you just got him sent to a brothel. Shikaku muttered, troublesome. Davin walked over and said, the kid's not so bad. Inoichi said, and? Davin said, so what did you really bring him for? Shikaku said, the kid's being trained to be CIA, he's going to need to know about the market. Think you can help get him a few contacts? Davin said, perhaps. Tell you what, I will have Rose run him through the ropes a few times and see what she can do with him. If anyone can help the kid learn about the market, it's her. Chusa said, thanks, Davin. Davin said, just bring him by the next time I got a shark causing me trouble. He may not show it, but he's got a good eye for details. Inoichi said, the trouble is just trying to get him to show it, but yeah, we will, as they got their next round of drinks. As Rose led Naruto into the back room, they walked into another room that looked like a bedroom and an office. Rose said, so what's your name, kid, and how old are you? Naruto said, Naruto Uzumaki, and I am 15. Rose nods and said, well, sit down and get comfortable on the bed. I got a few things I need to take care of, so just give me a minute, as she walked over to the office desk and sat down. Naruto looked around the room and sat down, and Rose typed on a computer a few minutes and said, so what do you know about woman, kid? Naruto said, just what I read in Gigi's books and a few magazines. Rose said, also your sexy no jutsu, as she was looking at the screen. Naruto looked at her and asked, how do you know about that? Rose said, word spreads about things quickly, kid, and Ika Ika Paradise doesn't give enough credit to woman. Naruto asked, what do you mean? Rose said, well, let's take breast for example, as she got up and took her shirt off and didn't have a bra on, and Naruto got red-faced. Naruto swallowed and asked, what about them? Rose said, show me your sexy no jutsu and I will show you what I mean. Naruto stood up and put his hands together and said, sexy no jutsu, and he changed into his female self with clouds, and Rose said, alright, hold that until I tell you to, as the smoke cleared away. She walked over and said, touch your chest now. Naruto did and asked, what about it, as it looked and felt like basically a 3D magazine. Rose said, alright, do what you just did to my breast, as she grabbed his hands and put them on her breast. Naruto was still red-faced, but he was more thoughtful and said, they're more fleshy and not as stiff. Rose said, right, you based this jutsu off of a magazine, and since you don't know a lot about woman, you don't know how to use this jutsu effectively. Now see how you don't even have nipples or the areolas, as she demonstrated the parts for him to see. Naruto nods slowly, and Rose said, that's just the beginning of your flaws on knowledge of women. Your facial muscles are wrong. You need to raise the cheekbones and curve the jaw and remove the Adam's apple. Now release the jutsu and do it again, but add in the new information. Naruto nods, and after redoing it, Rose said, better, but still not perfect. Now if you are going to use this jutsu on mission, then you need to make it not you but someone new. That means the blonde hair needs to go and the whiskers also. Naruto flinched but asked, what should I do about my hair? Rose said, red, make it red. If you are going to use it, you don't want to be plain and be unnoticed, but you also want to seem natural, and you still need to pucker the lips a little more but thin them. Women's lips are not naturally that big, we use lipstick to make them larger. You also need to add layered lashes to your eyes. Try again. Naruto nods, and he was getting over being embarrassed because he was actually learning, and Rose said, much better, but drop the ponytails, go with layered waves like mine, as she showed him. Naruto quickly did it again and Rose said good, you look more real. Now your breasts are too big. For a female ninja more than a handful each is too much and will mess with your job by making you top heavy. After Naruto made them smaller, Rose smirked and said good, now you look better, now the next thing we need to work on is your legs. No hair on your legs. Women hate hairy legs and try to make your legs just a little longer, adding more height to your overall size. Naruto quickly did the changes and Rose said good, good, now let me look, as she walked around and said alright, your ass cheeks need to have a little more curved muscles so that way the muscle flex when you walk. Naruto frowned and said I think I know what you mean, as he changed again and Rose said not so much, you want shapely, not some kind of superhero. Naruto sighed and after changing again Rose said good, now that you got that out of the way let's work on the walk for me. Naruto walked and Rose said no, 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 no. You are walking like a man, woman walk with a sway where when your shoulders only slightly move with the sway up and down while your hips go right and left. Try again. After around 20 minutes Rose said alright, you got the walk down good enough for now. You will need to walk more but for today that will be good. Now it's time for your final lesson for the day. Strip. Naruto turned red and Rose said just do it damn it. Naruto sighed and stripped and Rose crawled up on the bed after she stripped and laid spread eagle and she moved her finger with a come here motion and said I want you to come here and I want you to explore this area, look, touch, taste, whatever the hell you want to do. I will tell you if you do something wrong. I want you to see what makes me feel good, what doesn't, and each time you find something new that you don't have then I want you to add it to yourself but test it first with one of your cage punchin'. Make it like your harem jutsu in the form you're in now to compare so that way the next time you actually make yourself look like a woman you can be as accurate as possible, okay? Naruto nods and as he followed her orders he leaned the parts of a woman and what as she explained it. About an hour later she said alright, that's good for today. Now I want you to do it one more time on you but do it dressed while I get dressed, as she got up off the bed. Naruto got up and Rose quickly got dressed and when Naruto changed into a female again Rose said good, now let me hear your voice. Naruto asked like what? Rose said softer Naruto. Naruto asked in a softer voice like this. Rose said good. Now you have a new look and you need a new name, I know, as she clapped her hands and a man walked in and said yeah boss. Rose said Tom, I need you to make a new identity for Miko here. I want you to put her age at 16, her home village is Tanaka City. She's comes and goes as a traveler. Parents deceased and no last name. Tom pulled out a camera and took a picture of Miko and said give me a half hour, as he left. After the door was closed Naruto asked what was that? Rose said giving you a background so that way if you ever need to be a woman to infiltrate so you can assassinate someone then you have everything ready. I got a mission for you. I want you to get a job Miko somewhere in Konoha, I don't care where but only your sensei will know who you really are. You must work at least 3 hours a day at this job several days a week and try to be as womanly as possible and don't blow your cover. If you can do this every day you succeed I will teach you something new about either woman, sex, or other things like how I know so much info about you. If you fail I will never speak to you again. Do you understand? This is a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Naruto nods quickly and Rose said good, now remember, you are Miko, not Naruto, you can't act like Naruto. Now let's try a few scenarios while we wait. Around an hour later Naruto walked back out to the club with Rose who said come back anytime Naruto. Naruto said I will Rose and thanks. Inoichi walked over and asked so how did it go? Naruto gulped and said let's talk about it elsewhere, okay? All three men nod and leave with Naruto and Davin walked over to Rose and said so. Rose said he understands woman better now. He's also got a new background and name. Davin nods and said and. Rose looked around and said Kushina would love her daughter. Miko looks just like her at that age, as she turned and walked back into the mirror door. Davin chuckled and thought still upset over losing your godmother ha. Don't worry Crystal Finger Rose, or should I call you by your real name since this is personal Ellen, her son will fill that hole for you. I can feel it. Naruto, Shikaku, and Chusa all arrived on top of the Hokage monument, and Naruto blinked and asked, "Why are we here?" Chusa said, "You're comfortable here and we're not likely to be overheard, and the way you acted back there, you don't want to be overheard." Naruto sighed and put his hands together and was covered in smoke, and when the smoke cleared they could see Miko, and she said, "I was told only you could know," as she pulled out some ID and handed it to them. "I am supposed to find a job and try at least 3 hours a day and not to be discovered. I am not a woman, so I can use this disguise in the future if need be. Every day I do it, I can go and meet Rose again and she will teach me something new," as she took the ID back and changed back into Naruto. All three men looked at each other and Inoichi said, "All right, answer me something. How are you feeling toward Ino now?" Naruto closed his eyes and turned to look over the village, and Inoichi said, "That settles it. Here is what we will do. I will hire a new worker, part-time at my shop. Her name will be Miko. Miko will get a chance to learn about flowers and keep her cover while observing Ino. This will give you a chance, Naruto, to get even with her because she won't see you and will blame herself. From what we heard while you were in the back, she honestly thinks you left the village last night, and we got all those who need to know to play along for now, including her sensei, the Hokage, and her teammates." Naruto said, "But I don't want to see her," as he glared at Inoichi. Shikaku said, "I think it's a good idea, Naruto, because you need a job, but you also need somewhere that we can still have control of your training. If you are going to impersonate a woman, then you need to know what women think and act, and Ino is a perfect example, and she can explain flowers to you. I know you don't want to do it, but think about the deer. You know we don't want to do what we did with them, but it is necessary. This is necessary as well, because there will be times you will have to work with others you won't like or who won't like you, and maybe even Ino herself. At least this way, if you can actually fake being a woman and not get mad at her, then perhaps Rose will help you even more." Naruto frowned and said, I don't know if I can. What if I can't do it?" Inoichi said, "Just try to pretend you're someone else when you're with her. Maybe think of yourself as Miko, like you have always been a girl, and then when you're Naruto, you're Naruto." Naruto bit his lip and he said, I will try, but I don't like it. What if she asks me things? I may pretend to be a girl, but my mind is that of a guy's." Chusa said, "That's why this will be a good experience for you, Naruto. If you are going to fake being a woman, then you need to be able to think like one, at least enough to fool people." Naruto turned and asked, "But why am I faking being a woman? Why not fake being another guy?" Inoichi blinked and asked, "Wait, you mean you don't know?" Naruto asked, "No, what?" looking confused. Inoichi looked at him and said, "You really don't know, do you?" Naruto started to get mad when Shikaku said, "You're a shapeshifter, Naruto," making Naruto ask, "Huh?" Chusa sighed and said, "We have ANBU reports in your file the Hokage gave us. In the reports it showed that your henges are real, not illusions like everyone else's are. We don't know if it has something to do with your parents like a bloodline, or if it is something because of the fox, but that is another reason we decided to take you as our apprentice. You have the ability to actually be a woman. Let me show you what I mean." "Change back to Miko a moment." Naruto did, and then Shikaku was covered in smoke and changed into a woman, and Chusa touched Naruto's head and said, "See, you appear to be a taller woman, but when anyone else does it," as he went to touch Shikaku, his hand went right through the illusion and it distorted, and Naruto said, "But," as Shikaku dropped his henge. Inoichi said, "That's why every person you knocked out doing that jutsu passed out, because as best as they can tell you are really a woman in that henge, because nobody can detect it unless you do something to make us believe you are one, and I have been standing here doing every dispel technique that is known, and you are still a woman at this point, meaning that it is impossible to dispel, giving you the perfect tool to infiltrate places that some people can't." Miko pouted and said, "Nobody told me. Nobody ever tells me anything about me, not my parents, not the fox, not my ability, not how to live. It's so unfair. Stupid Baka Fox, it's all his fault," as she crossed her arms. Inoichi said, "Now do you understand why we are pushing you into doing this?" Miko said, "Fine, but I still need a place to stay, and since I won some money, I need to get some new cloths as well for Naruto and myself, because I can't be only wearing one set of cloths," as Miko looked at them. Inoichi sighed and said, "You sound more like a woman every minute, Miko." Miko said, "I am one Yamanaka-sama. I'm 16 years old and I have been traveling since my parents died when I was little. They were merchants who were attacked by some bandits. I picked up a few things over the years, and even though I never went to the academy, I do know a little about chakra, but not much. I would really like a job so I can perhaps settle down here and find me a place to live. All three men were stunned, and Inoichi said, just call me Inoichi, and I happen to have a place you can stay for a while at my place. Miko frowned a moment and said, how much is rent, Inoichi-san? Inoichi said, don't worry about it. As long as you work for me you can stay there. Miko said, thank you sir, that will be very helpful. Chusa said, alright Miko, that's enough for now. It's time for Naruto to train some more. Miko pouted and said no fair, as she was covered in smoke, and Naruto put his hand on his forehead and said, whoa, that was weird. Shikaku asked, what do you mean? Naruto said, I felt like I was someone else. I mean, I felt like everything she was saying was real and I was watching just like you were. I could still see and hear, but it felt like my body was someone else. Inoichi closed his eyes and said, let's worry about it later Naruto. Chusa, I think you were next. Chusa said, yeah, come on Naruto. It's time to teach you at my house, as he placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder and left in a shushin. After they were gone, Shikaku said, MPD. Inoichi said, looks like it. I think with us pressuring him into doing it, as well as his mental state for the moment, his mind fractured just enough to create a second personality. Truthfully, I am surprised it hadn't before now though. Miko already is treating Naruto as a third person from her speech about cloths, and Naruto seems to be able to tell Miko is different. Shikaku asked, how do you want to do this? I mean, you know more about the mind and mental disorders than either of us. Inoichi said, for now I will observe and see if it is really one or if he is really a good actor, and if so determine if it is a conflicting personality. If it is, then I will help him deal with it, but if not, then it might help him. Shikaku said, alright, well I guess I better go home and see if my wife killed the Hokage. CYA, as he shushined away. Inoichi thought, Ino, what a mess, as he shushined away. Naruto and Chusa both appeared in Chusa's house, and Chusa said, alright Naruto, my wife is at the restaurant most of the time, so you won't see her much, so it's just you and me for now. I know you can't read kanji. I got a few books on kanji for you to read today to help you overcome this problem. They're over there on that table, along with enough pens and paper for you to use 10 keijubunshin to learn and read from them while practicing. Don't have them to spell, because I will be checking them and make sure they are doing right and help correct any mistakes they make. Now do you know how to read normal? Naruto sighed and said, mostly, there are still times I have trouble. Chusa said, that's okay. Everyone has trouble sometimes, but me and the others are here for you now to help you with them. Now go ahead and create those keijubunshin while I go get some stuff. Naruto nods and creates 20, and Chusa said, that's fine Naruto, we will work on control with those other 10 in a moment. Just get 10 started on what I told you to. Naruto said, okay, you heard him guys. 11 of them started to go over, and one got pulled back by the real Naruto, and Chusa returned with a cutting board, a knife and several vegetables, and he said, alright, the 10 of you that are left, I got 10 leaves. I want you each to put the leaf on your heads like this and use your chakra to make it float just a little above your head. Too much and it will blow off, too little and it will fall off or won't move. Now you try while me and the original start, as he demonstrated what to do, and the clones grabbed a leaf he had in his hand, and the real Naruto went to a dining table where Chusa was. Chusa said, alright Naruto, this is going to help you with your diet as well as your skills with a bladed weapon like knives and kunais. As Chusa speed sliced a carrot in less than 2 seconds into pieces as thin as paper, shocking Naruto. Chusa chuckled and continued, it will take you a while to be able to do that, but I will show you how, but we got to start with the basic. I don't know if you know vegetables or not, so I will just call out the name and show you how I want you to cut them and help correct you as we go along, okay? Naruto said okay. Chusa said, now can you create any more keijubunshin? Naruto said, of course, why? Chusa said, create a small number of them and I will get them started on something else real quick. Naruto created about 15, and Chusa pulled out several recipe cards boxes, and he said, alright, I want you each to pick a card in these boxes and read it until you can tell me everything on it without trying. I will come around and test you when you think you got it, and if you do, then you will go to a new recipe, if not you will have to keep reading until you can tell me the directions exactly right. This is a memory exercise as well as cooking help. This will help your future training greatly as well as your life. Now take them and begin. Now Naruto, that item I cut was a carrot. It is good for eyesight. Now how you cut them is like this, as he started to teach Naruto slowly how to cut, how to hold a cutting knife and other things. While this was going on, Shikaku arrived back at his house and saw Shikamaru playing shogi with a cage bunchen of Naruto, and Choji was talking about ramen with another, and he looked over at a cage bunchen of Naruto who looked scarred for life talking with Yoshino at the eating table, and he saw a couple of others all still working on kanji, and he said, how are they still here? I thought they would be dispelled by now. The one at the table with Yoshino said, kill me please, I never want to hear another dough and buck lesson of life again. Everyone looked at him and Yoshino said, I thought you might need some help, so I gave his cage bunchen the talk also. Where's Naruto? Shikaku said he's with Chusa for now, and then he's got some other things he's got to do, that secret. Yoshino nods and asked, so how did he take it? Shikaku said, okay, why? Yoshino said, just wondering. Shikamaru's voice caught everyone's attention and he said, good job, it took me 22 moves to beat you that time, going up from the 10 originally. The clone said, maybe I can get good enough to beat you eventually. Shikaku said, well, how close are you guys to running out of chakra? One doing kanji said, I think a while, we're not really using any energy right now, but I don't know. Shikaku frowned and looked at the other ones in the room and he said, you should have all been dispelled when we left earlier today from being so far away from the original Naruto. That was over 3 miles difference between you and the original, and most cage bunchens only go about 1 mile at most. One said, well, what can you say? I'm not normal, and why do I feel like I had a sex change earlier? Making everyone look at the clone and then back at Shikaku, who asked, do any of you others feel that way? 3 raised their hands and he said, it appears information can go both ways indirectly. Choji looked up and asked, did Naruto have a sex change earlier? Shikaku sighed and said, sort of. I can't explain it because it's a secret to his training, but he's still a man and don't mention on any of this to anyone. Shikamaru said, troublesome. So he used the sexy no jutsu again, and Shikaku sighed and nods, and Choji said, oh, is that all? As he went back talking about ramen. Inoichi appeared inside his flower shop and he looked around and saw the closed sign and he thought, strange, why is the shop closed and Ino here? As he went toward where he felt Ino chakra. He went up the stairs and heard crying, and he saw Ino door was open and he saw her sitting on the floor with her knees to her chest crying, and he walked over and sat down behind her and put his arms around her and said, there princess, tell daddy what's wrong. Ino cried and said, everyone hates me and it's all my fault. Naruto gone and they hate me for it. Inoichi said, what makes you think everyone hates you, dear? Ino said, because Choji said he didn't want his valuables to come up missing. They both know what I did, as she burst into tears again. Inoichi sighed and said, you have to understand, Ino, a lot of people who know you have been hurt by you and their trust in you has been put to the test, but not everyone knows. Ino said, but Naruto left, and once everyone finds out he left they will wonder why, and then when they find out they will know and hate me. Inoichi asked, what are you more hurt about, that people know about what happened or Naruto leaving? Ino said, Naruto leaving. Inoichi asked, why? I thought you hated Naruto. Ino looked at her dad and said, I don't hate Naruto, Inoichi asked, you what? Ino said, I just never really got to know him. Inoichi asked, so why does that hurt you more than knowing people know? I would think that it would be the opposite if you really don't know him. Ino looked down and said, I don't understand it, daddy, why does it hurt so much to know that he left because of me? Inoichi said, I don't know, dear. It's something you will have to find the answer to. Ino said, but it won't matter because he's gone and nobody is ever going to see him again. Inoichi said, you don't know what you got until it's gone. Ino looked at her dad and asked, Daddy, can you help me please? Inoichi said, I don't know, dear, what do you want me to do? Ino said, help me find him. Inoichi blinked and asked why. Ino turned and looked at her dad and said, if I can find him I can tell him I am sorry and then he can come back. Inoichi asked, why do you want him to come back, dear? Ino said, because if he comes back then everyone will quit hating me and... Inoichi said, so it is the feeling of being hated you are crying about. It's not Naruto. Ino sighed and thought, damn it, why are none of my plans working out right? I thought if I was miserable when Dad got here he would help me find Naruto so things could go back to normal, and said yes, I never been hated before and I don't know what to do. I was always the good girl, always the popular girl that everyone looked up to, but now everyone's looking down on me. Inoichi said finally. Now you're starting to understand a little. Ino said, oh God, I am an awful person, Naruto left completely destroyed and here I am worrying about only myself. A female voice that caught both their attentions said that's human nature, as both looked at saw Miko standing there. Ino said, who are you? Miko said, sorry to interrupt, but your friend Chusa just dropped me off Inoichi-san. If this is a bad time I can come back later, as she made a motion move toward the stairs. Inoichi said, no, that's alright Miko, this is my daughter Ino, this is Miko, the new employee. Ino's eyes got wide as she flinched and said, new employee daddy, but... Inoichi said, yes, Miko here was referred by an old friend and she's new in town needing a place to stay and work, and since our talk last night I figured I could at least give her a job and a place to stay until she could get on her feet in case you don't work here anymore like we talked about, so that way I have someone trained ready to go. Miko said, perhaps I should go back down to the store, sir. Inoichi said, no, that's alright, Ino, why don't you go ahead and get to know her and show her around to help her get started. Ino looked at her dad with betrayal in her eyes and said, but... Inoichi said, now I know, as he walked out of the room making Ino flinch. Miko said, I'm sorry about interrupting Ino, but I called and no one answered and I heard you're talking and I came to let Inoichi-san know I was here and I didn't mean to overhear or cause any trouble. Ino looked down and bit her lip and said, no, it's okay. It's all my fault anyways, and thought it is all my fault. How could all of this have happened because of me? Miko saw her fidget and said, Inoichi-san said I could stay in some loft here, and Ino's eyes got wide as she felt hurt and thought that was my loft, and then he gave it to Naruto, but because of me Naruto left and now he just gives it to some stranger. Why? Ino gulped, ready to start crying again, and said, I see, can you give me a few minutes to get ready and I can show you around? Miko nods and Ino got up and Miko sighed seeing the way Ino was and closed her eyes a moment and walked forward, and before Ino realized it Miko pulled her into a hug and whispered in her ear, I may not know what's going on, but if you want to talk about it I wouldn't mind listening. A friend told me once it helps to talk about it. Ino, who was stiff at first, slowly put her arms around Miko and cried into her chest as Miko rubbed Ino back. Inoichi walked back into the doorway and he looked at Miko, looked at him while biting her lip, and Inoichi nods and leaves and Ino still cried. After Ino stopped crying Miko stepped back a little and said, I think we might have gotten off to a bad start. My name is Miko. Ino said, Ino Yamanaka. Miko said, it's nice to meet you Ino and I hope we can become friends. Ino bit her lip and said, I would like that, as she grabbed some tissues and whipped her cheeks before saying, we better get going or Daddy might get mad. Miko said, of course, lead the way, as she followed Ino back down the stairs, and Ino asked, so what do you know about flowers and botany and floral arrangements? Miko said nothing, making Ino stop and turn quickly wide-eyed. Ino asked, then why do you want to work here? Miko said, because I am always willing to learn and I need a job. Ino said, I see, well I guess the best place to start would be with the seeds and the seedlings. Follow me, as she led Miko toward the back of the shop and out a side door and down a small path where a greenhouse was. When they got in the greenhouse Ino led her over to a section that looked like topsoil only, and Ino said, this is where we start most of our flowers. We usually just take seeds from plants we already raised or some we found in the woods or ordered from elsewhere and plant them here until they become seedlings, which is what that next section over there is, pointing to another section that had a bunch of little seedlings popping out of the ground. Miko nods and Ino said, now for this to work so the plants can grow healthy we have divided this large rack here into 60 separate sections so any roots they have won't get stuck together and kill each other. Miko said, seems simple enough. Ino snorts and said, you haven't got a clue yet. We have to know what the plants are that are growing, which takes careful cataloging, because if we run out of a certain type of flower it could take weeks before we get it in again, which means loss of business for us. Take this for example. This is a seed for a basic red rose. Right now it's not in very much demand, but around Valentine's Day we can't keep enough of these. All these flower beds are already full right now, so how about I let you take a personal starter kit to try and take care of yourself and see if you can make them grow. As she walked over and got a 6-divider flower pot and put soil in it and grabbed a pack of rose seed and said, okay, the instructions for these roses are on the back and you can learn to do them on your own time later. For now let me show you some of the adult flowers we have and tell you the name and the meanings behind them and then quiz you on it, as she lead Miko through the greenhouse. And 2 hours later they came out of the greenhouse and Ino said, well, you got most of the names down and a few of the meanings. You're actually faster on picking it up than I was. Miko said, thank you, Ino. Ino looked at the clock on the wall and saw it was about 6 p.m. and she frowned and said, well, the shop closed an hour ago. I guess me telling you all those names and meanings as well as a occasional test was longer than I intended to. Miko smiled softly and said, I actually enjoyed it and I learned more about plants and flowers than I had imagined possible, and you have so much passion for them, I am envious. Ino smiled and said, well, it comes natural, my family has done this since before they originally came to Konoha. Miko said, will that be all for today? I'm a little tired. Ino blinked and said, oh right, I forgot that you're new here and you need a place to stay. You said Dad was going to let you use the loft. Miko said, that is what he said. Ino sighed and bit her lip and said, well then please follow me, as she led the way back toward the main house/shop, and she took a side path and came to a wooden gate and said, this gate can only be opened from this side for security reason, but you can get to the loft from the side of shop. As she opened the gate and closed it after they walked out, and there was a set of stairs leading up, and Ino bit her lip and closed her eyes as she led Miko up the stairs, and she pulled out a set of keys. And said, well, I guess this is yours now, as she took a key off her set and gave it Miko. Miko took it and unlocked the door, and Ino walked in and turned on the light and said, it's not very much so far. I wasn't planning on moving into this place until I was older, so there is still a lot of work needing done. The painting needs to be done, which is why I got all those paint cans there under the sheet. The washer and dryer that are over in the corner still have to be hooked up. The cabinet shelves are up, but the doors and hardware for them still have to be installed. Miko thought you never mentioned all this, Inoichi, as she looked around the loft apartment and said, well, the furniture is all here so I can still sleep on the bed. Ino said, well, I guess I better go, hope you're comfortable, as she left. After Ino was gone, Miko walked over and moved the tarp on the paint cans and looked at the cans and thought, well, there are nearly every color possible here. Ino must not have decided on a theme yet, and she walked over and locked the door and pulled the mini blind down as well as the curtains so nobody could see in, and she put her hands together and released the jutsu, and Naruto was standing there and he sighed and said, I guess I got no choice, as he put his hands together and said, Cage Bunshin no Jutsu, and 10 clones appeared. Naruto said, alright, we need to get this place together if I am going to live here, so I want 2 of you to put the doors onto the cabinets and then 1 of you to put the hardware on the cabinets. A Cage Bunshin said, hey boss, what about the painting? Naruto said, not right now. I want the rest of you to work on getting that washer and dryer hooked up and then wash the sheets and covers while dusting the place so that way it's not so dusty in here. A clone asked, what are you going to do, boss? Naruto said, me, I'm going to go take a long hot bath, as he walked toward the bathroom and closed the door. Naruto began to take his cloths off and open the bathroom door and set them down and said, wash these when the machines are hooked up, before closing the door, and he turned on the bath water and looked around and thought, it looks like Ino had the bathroom ready to use, there's towels, soap and toiletries, as he got into the water when it was ready and leaned back to relax before he slowly drifted off to sleep. In the loft his Cage Bunshins got to work. This is it for today, to be continued.